way of identifying somehow by a chemical culprit, something that the body, the human body maybe could create and then intoxicate the brain, and that what we call psychosis would really be chemical aberrations. They would not be mental diseases. So now they were sending this LSD to different universities and research institutes and individual therapists, and they were asking, they say, on the basis of this pilot study, we think there could be something of interest for psychologists and psychiatrists. Maybe this could be used like a model psychosis, because there seemed to be some similarity with what the patients were going through. And it's always great to have a model in science. But then there was a little second tip, which kind of became my destiny or karma or whatever you want to call it. And they said, we also feel that this could be used as a kind of non-traditional educational tool. With the psychiatrists, psychologists, students, nurses could take it and spend a few hours in the world that would be very much like the world of their patients, and understand them better, be able to communicate better, and hopefully be more successful in treating them. So at this time I was in this crisis, questioning whether I wanted to be in psychiatry or not. So of course, I became one of the early volunteers. And this was an experience where my preceptor was interested in EEG, electroencephalography, not only electroencephalography, but in something that's called driving the brain waves, which means exposing people to powerful stroboscopic light and then trying to find out if the brain waves will pick up the frequency that you are feeding in. So those of us who wanted to have the experience had to agree that we would have our brain waves driven in the middle of this session. So again, to make a long story short, it's described in a book that I wrote, which is called When the Impossible Happens. So in the middle of this session where my experience was culminating, this research assistant came and said, it's time for driving the brainwaves. So she took me to this little room. I lay down, she pasted the electrodes on my head, and then brought this gigantic strobe, put it above my head and turned this thing on. And the next thing I knew was there was light like I had never seen in my life. I couldn't even imagine existed. In the first moment I thought this is what it must have been like in Hiroshima, when the thing went off. Today I think it was more like the primary clear light from Bardo Thodol, from the Tibetan Buddhist book of death that we supposedly see at the time when we die. And I had just incredibly powerful experience of cosmic consciousness where my consciousness left my body. I had no more boundaries. I sort of had a feeling that I was annihilated, but at the same time I became sort of the whole universe. I became all there was. And coming down, I was very impressed. I said, I'm stuck with psychiatry. So when you're a psychiatrist, these non-ordinary states is like the most interesting thing that you can study. So it has now been over 50 years. And I have done during my professional career very little that was not related in one way or another to non-ordinary states, to a certain sort of actually important subcategory for which psychiatry does not have any name. We have just the term altered states, which is used across the board for any non-ordinary state, except dream. Now I don't like that term. I always think about veterinary medicine. You get your dog altered. So just too much respect to these states, particularly the subcategory of these states, which I believe are healing, are transformative, and even evolutionary. Now those are the states, for example, that the shamans experience as part of their initiatory crisis, spontaneous states, that if they're properly integrated, they transform the person into an effective healer, and you know, make them very, very important persons in their culture. Those are also the states that the shaman induce in their clients when they are working with them. Those are also the states that the initiates experience in rites of passage or some other rituals. The kind of states that the initiates experienced in the ancient mysteries of death rebirth, like the mysteries of Isis and Osiris, or the Eleusinian mysteries, or mysteries of Attis, Adonis, the Mesoamerican Xibalba experiences of the Mayans, and so on. And